Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Today I'm going to teach you chapter 8, part 3. Okay, so basically this is the last topic that I will teach you. Okay, part 3. The title of part 3 is Hazardous Waste Management. So previously in part 1, we already know how to implement cleaner production in our manufacturing lines and so on. And then part 2, how solid waste is going to be managed. So later on, when you take subject solid waste management, and then you will go into detail for every introduction that I already teach you. So same goes to this part 3. So this is just the introduction, the fundamental knowledge on how do we manage the hazardous waste, but you will go into detail when you take subject hazardous waste management later on. Okay, we go to the definition first. So by definition, hazardous waste is any waste or combination of waste that can pose a substantial present or potential hazard to human health or living organism. So the definition is obviously different from solid waste definition. So most hazardous waste is the byproduct of industrial, agricultural, manufacturing, hospital and healthcare facilities, as you can see in the picture. Okay, table 1 provides a conservative estimates of the production of hazardous waste in selected country in the Asian and Pacific region. So later on we will see what is table 1. So this data show a tremendous increase in the production of hazardous waste, and this is due to the rapid development in various industries. Okay, we can see here listed here is the country that contribute to the production of hazardous waste. So the data is from 1993 until 2000 and until 2010. Okay, this is the updated data that I can get. So if you can see, Malaysia from 1993 is doubling and tripling the number. Okay, because Malaysia is a developing countries, so the number is quite low if we compare to the developed country, as you see on the other country. And I think the most country that produce hazardous waste is Republic of China. We know that China is industrialized country, so they produce their production of hazardous waste is high. Okay, I know that this is the label that we normally see in the lab, and I know that all of us are aware about this. So hazardous waste actually can be classified according to the following 4 basic characteristics. Okay, there are 4 characteristics define hazardous waste. So the first one is ignitable or flammable, meaning that it has a flash point of 60 degrees. So when that particular material or chemicals or whatever exposed to the degree of 60, it will flame. Okay, it will burn. Okay, so you can see the label here. Okay, and then number 2 is corrosive. Normally it dissolves metals, burn the skin, or has a pH 2 or pH 12.5. Okay, either is too acidic or too alkaline. Okay, and then number 3 is reactive. It means the elements is unstable or undergo rapid violent chemical reaction with water, air or other materials. And number 4 is toxic. It means that it is a bioconcentration, poisonous, or can cause cancer, mutation or death. For example of hazardous waste is a heavy metal sludge. Okay, there are sludge that consider solid waste when they not contain any heavy metal, but when they contain hazardous waste, so it become classified as hazardous waste. Solvent waste, spent acid, as what we can see in our lab. Okay, that's why the the acid waste or the solvent waste in our lab is sorting or differently in different room. Okay, and then battery waste, okay, this is we use it in our daily life, so bear in mind that battery waste is not considered as a normal solid waste, so it is actually a hazardous waste and should be disposed as hazardous waste. And also paint waste. Okay, different to other countries, in Malaysia, this toxic and hazardous waste is normally known as a schedule waste. Okay, the characteristic, categories and guidelines of this schedule waste can be obtained from the Department of DOE website. So you can go to their website and you can see the all of this information about the schedule waste. So by definition, according to the Environmental Quality Act 1974, any waste falling within the 77 categories of toxic and hazardous waste listed in the first schedule under the Environmental Quality Schedule Waste Regulations 2005. So now you know why hazardous waste is known as a schedule waste in Malaysia, because it must be referred to the first schedule. Okay, it means that this hazardous waste have been scheduled according to the first schedule. So that's why in Malaysia most of the safety and health officer call this hazardous waste as a schedule waste. So there are 77 categories, okay, listed under this schedule waste. Okay, this listed schedule waste is divided into the 5 categories. So the 77 is fall into these 5 categories. So the coding, they are coding based on the SW1 until SW5. So what is SW1? SW1 is metal and metal bearing waste. SW2, waste that containing principally inorganic constituents, which may contain metals and organic materials. SW3 is a waste containing principally organic constituents, which may contain metals and inorganic material. Okay, SW4, waste which may contain either inorganic or organic constituents, and SW5 is other constituent. So I share here the link that provided by the DOE, and then you can have a look on the PDF file that listed the 77 toxic and hazardous waste listed under the first schedule. Okay, here is the example of hazardous waste that generated by the types of the industry. Okay, normally for strong acid and bases, spent solvent and reactive waste, it normally produced by the chemical manufacturers. What about vehicle maintenance shops? So the waste types normally is heavy metal paint waste, ignitable waste, used lead acid batteries and spent solvent. What about printing industry? Okay, the waste type are heavy metal solution, waste inks, spent solvent, spent electroplating waste, and ink sludge containing heavy metal. Okay, hazardous waste also produced from leather products manufacturing, and the waste is waste toluene and benzene. Okay, and then what about cleaning agents and cosmetic manufacturing? Normally they are producing heavy metal dust, ignitable waste, flammable solvent, strong acid and bases. And last one, the example is metal manufacturing. So their waste containing paint waste that contain heavy metal, strong acid and bases, cyanide waste, sludge containing heavy metals. Alright, how we want to minimize our schedule waste. So same goes the concept with integrated solid waste management. Prioritize in hazardous waste management is depicted in this flowchart. Okay, so the aim is to reduce as much as possible the amount of waste or contaminants generated at source. Okay, I repeat, the generated at source, rather than treating and disposing of waste into the environment. So the first one is we will try our best to eliminate the scheduled waste at generation, and then try to reduce generation, and then recycle, reuse and recovery, treatment and residual disposal. So I remember last time I have a visit to our industrial training students when they had their LI training at one of the service center, car service center. So they were um, they were positioned in a service area, okay, as a safety and health trainee. So when I visit them, so they told me that when service a car they use oil, okay, engine oil and whatsoever. So the container of the engine oil will be reused back, okay. And then the oil, the used oil, of course they will go for treatment and dispose, but for the container, they cannot dump it as a normal solid waste because it contain the residual of the engine oil. So what they do is they use back the container to fill in the new engine oil. So this is what they did to try to eliminate generation from the container of the engine oil. Okay, what is eliminate generation? So if possible, the hazardous waste should be not allowed to use in operation process, otherwise minimize the amount needed, as what example that I told you just now. And then reduce generation, company should develop strategy, program and goals for waste reduction in all components of waste management. So the best way is implement cleaner production practice, as what we have learned in the first part of this chapter 8. And then this reduced generation will lessen the environmental impact, lower operating costs and reduce potential liability. But if the reduction is not possible, the waste should be recycled or treated in an environmentally safe manner. Okay, for recycle, there are several techniques that can reduce and recycle the hazardous waste. So the first technique is production process change. So the description for this technique is by substituting non-hazardous for hazardous raw material. Okay, this is the difficult task, but some industry manage to do this. Okay, segregate waste by type for recycling, eliminate source of leaks and spills, separate hazardous from non-hazardous waste, and redesign or reformulate end product to be less hazardous. Okay, second one is modification of equipment. What we can do is by install equipment that produce little or no waste. So this might consume high cost. Okay, and then modify equipment to enable recycling, redesign equipment or production lines to produce less waste, try to improve efficiency of equipment, maintain a strict preventive maintenance program, and off-site recycling is also possible. And then the third one is inventory management and improve operations by purchase fewer toxic and more non-toxic production materials. Okay, substituting, okay, implement employee training and management feedback, then improve material receiving, storage and handling practices, and last one, inventory and trace all raw materials. Okay, for reuse and recovery, where the production of hazardous waste cannot be prevented and minimized, and recycling are limited, opportunities for reuse or recovery should be fully investigated. So the reuse and recovery is same as solid waste management. Okay, the effort must be initiated at producer level with source segregation on site. So another strategy is install the thermal treatment which use energy or material recovery. And then for treatment and disposal, we will discuss later. Okay, first we go to the storage of scheduled waste. So I think some of you might be familiar with this storage. So this is the example of container that provided by the DOE under the scheduled waste regulation. So you can see here on the left side is a bung hole drum. So basically this bung hole drum is made of plastic or steel, because sometimes you want to contain with the acidic or solvent chemicals, so that's why the material for the drum must be tough enough to contain that kind of material. Okay, then pellet tank, normally use a 1 ton size, and PP bag also 1 ton size. Okay, normally for PP bag is for solid hazardous waste. Okay, for bunghole and pellet, normally for liquid hazardous waste. Okay, what about the procedure and handling? Okay, the first one, scheduled waste shall be stored in container which are compatible with the scheduled waste to be stored, durable and able to prevent spillage or leakage of the scheduled waste into the environment. So we need to identify the date of the first waste store into the container, because sometimes there are chemicals that are evaporate, okay, through time. So we should read the MSDS of the chemical first. Okay, how do we need to store the inside the container? And then incompatible scheduled waste shall be stored in separate container, and such container shall be placed in separate secondary containment area. And then container of scheduled waste shall be clearly labeled in accordance with the third schedule for identification and warning purpose. So let's see figure 3 and 4. Okay, later. Okay, and then incompatible scheduled waste shall be stored in separate containers. Area for the storage container shall be designed, constructed and maintained adequately to prevent spillage or leakage of scheduled waste into the environment. So I think you can see the example of the scheduled waste storage from our lab. Okay, so after this, if you enter the lab, just have a simple observation on how the lab staff store their hazardous waste. So any person may store scheduled waste generated by him 180 days or less, okay, after its generation, provided that the quantity of scheduled waste accumulated on site shall not exceed 20 metric ton, and the DG may at any time direct the waste generator to send any scheduled waste for treatment, disposal or recovery of material or product from the scheduled waste up to such quantity as he deems necessary. So this is the guidelines that provided by the scheduled waste regulation. So I just extract from the regulation. Okay, this is the figure N4. So clearly DOE has provided complete information, okay, for the producer on how to storage the hazardous waste. Okay, what about transportation? So there are some criteria was set up for the transportation hazardous waste, because it can't be normal as a scheduled waste, because it contains hazardous waste, okay, with different kinds of characteristic of each. So the first one is proper training of handlers, loaders and drivers. So they have to give them a training, okay, on how to handle when there are accidents, okay. All handlers, loaders and drivers need to be trained in the procedure for handling the waste. Waste transport companies must be licensed for the transportation of waste, and the vehicle must be designed for the safe delivery of waste. Follow the recommended transportation route, because sometimes they cannot enter an urban area, they cannot enter a dense populated area, so they have to avoid that. So they have to follow the routes, the recommended routes for hazardous waste transportation. And then they have to have manifest requirement. What is manifest? It is a complete report of all movement of waste from its generation to the point of ultimate disposal, because we are afraid if in the middle of the transportation, if there are accident, okay, occurred in the middle, so if unfortunate event happen, for example, if the driver has an injury, so the people who give emergency response to them might read the information about the waste from the manifest, from the report, okay, and then they should have a label and placards, discharge and clean up. Okay, this is the example of placard. Okay, so this has to bring along during transportation. Okay, what about the treatments? Okay, there are a few treatments classified for this scheduled waste. The first one is physical treatment. Okay, for physical, we want to make use of what waste physical properties to separate and concentrate the waste, but not to detoxify or change its chemical characteristic. okay, just to change their physical characteristic. And then the second one is chemical treatment, to make use of the waste chemical characteristic to manipulate, concentrate, transform, and or detoxify the pollutant. And then the third one is biological treatment. We use living things such as microbes to detoxify the waste. And number 4 is thermal treatment, same as solid waste management. We use incinerator that involve the use of a high heating rate to destroy the waste. And then the fifth one is fixation or solidification technology to reduce the mobility of inorganic hazardous chemicals. Okay, what about the disposal? So a system consists of large pit in the ground with a thick lining of plastic over which we fill a compacted clay liner. So this is the sanitary landfill. Okay, same as solid waste. Okay, so the bottom of the pit has a liner that helps in preventing the liquid waste. Okay, and then this liquid that gets collected is called leachate. So I already explained this in solid waste management topics. So the refuse is then added to the landfill in the form of organized layers. So they will add the waste layer by layer, and then after that they will fill up with soil, okay, to prevent any reaction towards this scheduled waste. So this is done for the elimination of any unpleasant odor also, and to expedite the rotting or decomposition process. Okay, so you can see this is the sanitary landfill. So this is complete system. So when the landfill is fully covered, it further sealed by a layer of compacted clay. Okay, so gas methane will be trapped and recovered, and also all the things that need to be monitored. For example, ground monitoring well also must be installed. Okay guys, that's all for the hazardous waste topic. It's a very short topics. So I think this is an end, okay, of our syllabus. Alhamdulillah, we managed to finish it, even though we are having an MCO or PKP, or this situation is unexpected, and I can imagine that I only see you a few times, and then after that we go through online until the end. So I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to any of my wrongdoings, if I have hurt you through my statement or whatsoever. All I do is I want to make you a better person. Okay, I hope you are doing well. I hope you will go through all assessment, and I'll try my best to grade you, and I hope that many students will score A for this subject. Okay, thank you guys. Maybe I will see you later during your final year. Okay, so see you, bye bye.